It was the dead of night. No one was in the streets. They were entirely empty. Yet still the heavy groaning of engines began to rupture the war drums of the street as a small purple Mini drove up the quiet street. In the car was Ursula Blake. Ursula was perfectly ordinary by all accounts. She went to work, she ate, and slept. But every Thursday evening, she became someone very special. She became an alien hunter. This is my report for Tuesday, the 14th of February 2006. I've been sent out by Mr. Skinner, who was the founder of our organisation, Linda. That's London Investigation and Detective Agency for the Uninitiated. We were composed of 5 members initially, including Mr. Skinner and I. The others were Bridget, Bliss and Elton. All of us had been sent on night missions after detecting mysterious energy source near a restaurant in Hampstead. Mr. Skinner had called in to say they were predicting a giant slug from the distant universe to come and destroy their restaurant. You know, however ludicrous alien life was, even I didn't believe that one. But it worked. The entire square mile was evacuated. He did use the code name which we discovered, an organisation outside the government and beyond the police, called Torchwood. Of course, we shouldn't know this, but it did the trick. My car drove up to what seemed to be a very romantic restaurant, which on Valentine's Day surely should be bustling with couples, I thought. But no, it was silent. Completely silent. The restaurant was called Les Plages et l'Escorte. I gently pushed on the door to enter. On the floor, I found smashed wine glasses skewed across the floor like a bomb site of children's Lego and toppled tables like fallen soldiers. I trod carefully, finding discarded roses and enough spilt red wine to make a watershed drama look tame. I called out, "Hello? Hello? Is anyone there?" I stood among the carnage and wondered if maybe all we'd picked up was false, and there was no reply. Just as I began to turn round to leave, another voice called out to me in reply. Yes, I'm here." The voice was moist and slithered off the tongue smoothly. I turned back, and I could see breaking through a curtain there was light to the right of the restaurant. I curiously stepped forth towards the door to inspect this strange anomaly. The light seemed as if it was warm and comforting as a cup of tea, late at night. Inside, there was a table at the centre of the room, with champagne in a heart-shaped chocolate box. I wondered what this all was. Was it a wild trick played by the others to get me back for a prank I'd subjected them to a few months back? No, it was something far worse. "Please, take a seat," said the moist voice from round the corner of the bar, on the other side of the room. I was unsure what to do, so I sat down, but I secretly hoped it was Elton, but the voice convinced me otherwise. "Why am I here, if you don't mind me asking?" I inquired. "Just sit there," the voice demanded. It was at this point that I realised the chair was covered in a thick, viscous goo, like a vile syrup. I was stuck. Only then did the voice reveal itself. I saw this humongous, daunting, dark shadow overwhelm the soothing candlelight. Whatever this creature was, it was giant and deadly. However, the shadow was most misleading, as from the side of the bar came what appeared to be a rather petite-looking snail creature. It had lurid green sticky skin with pink polka dots like some kind of leopard or cow. It had bulging black as night ovals, which I presumed were its eyes, but were in fact its 2 brains. This almost gave a cartoon-like appearance, and was almost cute. It also had 2 antennae for eyes, which slid from side to side but constantly fixated on me. Choking the creature around the neck was a metallic collar which had Universal Translator engraved on the side. With it, the creature carried a crimson coffee mug with a cartoon face printed on it. The creature looked and took a sip from it before sitting down at the table. The creature even had a dark navy blue shell with flecks of a seaside lighter shade, bringing out the ridges and patterns woven into the shell like endless geometric shapes. The creature was also covered in similar slime, which I was stuck to the chair with. It oozed out of its pores like an endless streaming nose. I would have retched, but I maintained a sense of decorum at all costs. "So, I see you got my message," the creature said at last to break my stunned silence. "What message?" I inquired, just as I remembered a Valentine's Day card, also covered in a similar slime on the frayed edge of the card. "Oh, so that was you," I said, disappointed, as I'd hoped that it was from Elton. "Well, who else would it be but your secret admirer and #1 fan?" the creature explained. "Tell me, if you're my #1 fan, how come I have no idea who you are?" I interrogated the creature. "I am Escargotte, an alien diplomat from the planet Clom. Well, I say from Clom, more like deported from Clom, after I turned our emperor, the great and mighty Absorbeloff's pool of molten souls into a vat of my favourite blend of coffee." Escargotte blabbered, as 2 petrified waiters arrived and served us what appeared to be salad, only it had only partially been munched on already. "How come you're an alien diplomat? Who would have sent for you?" "It's not like we have anything to offer you," I remarked, trying to find out who had sent him. "The person who reached out to us was a Queen Victoria of Torchwood. Their name was the Torchwood Organisation. It must have greater meaning than we clearly thought if they had the ability to send for alien diplomats." "Queen Victoria? But she's been dead for over 100 years, I remarked. "Well, it does take a while to travel from one end of the universe to another, you know," Escargotte quipped. "Can I ask?" I said, as I put the salad to one side, as I dared not touch the food. "Why coffee? Surely there's more valuable things for you to trade in." "I require it to survive. It is as important to me as water is to you," Escargotte explained as it guzzled down yet another cup of coffee. "Vital, or an addiction you can't shake?" I said, seeing through this blatant lie. "It hardly matters. You know, I think it does." "Why are you here, really?" the creature sighed. "But I suppose you were going to find out sooner or later. I had hoped you'd at least let me get a proper meal down first, though." "Found out what?" "Your present." "My what?" "Your present!" Escargotte repeated a little louder. I was starting to break a concerned sweat. "And what would that be?" "I intend to possess your body, infiltrate your organisation, and with that power I shall buy up all the supplies of coffee from throughout this pitiful rock." "Isn't that romantic?" Escargotte said with a seductive grin. "Romantic?" I said, shocked, disgusted and completely dumbstruck. Although secretly I found the idea hilarious, as Linda could barely afford a trip to McDonald's every month, let alone an entire supply of coffee of the world. "But what about all the commuters? If they don't get their morning coffee, do you know what all kind of hell will be unleashed? It'll be anarchy! I will have no part in it," I declared, desperately trying to free myself. "Your cooperation would have been helpful, but it is not essential. I always have my plan B," the creature suggested with a malicious and thirsty grin, which allowed you to see a singular tooth sticking out. "And what would that be?" I asked in a desperate fit of fear. "You see, I possess the ability to liquidate my prey. It's how we feed them to the oh-so-precious emperors of old. only I like to boil my victims and purify them with succulent coffee," said Escugati, leaning over, drooling over the table impatiently. "It just takes one simple touch of my fingers as my toxic slime will dissolve into your flesh like acid." I saw the creature getting way too close for comfort, and that's when I realised if it resembled a snail, perhaps it maintained some similar weaknesses. So I reached for the table salt as quickly as I could and took off the cap and covered Escugati in a thick coating. Immediately Escugati let out a painful screech as the creature began to shrivel away into nothing but a lifeless shell. You see, I remembered that snails were an absorbent animal, and that salt dried out snails, so I presumed the same would apply to Escugati. Thankfully, my last-minute bet paid off, otherwise I would have very quickly become snail soup. Or Kappa Snail Joe in this case. Anyway, I guess that ends my report for tonight. I have logged Escugati into our database and informed our informant in Torchwood, Captain Jack. That is the end of the report. Ursula had just packed up her desk when she noticed a heart-shaped box waiting on her desk. She lifted the lid. There was a secret note left behind. So she opened it. It read, "To Ursula, sorry it's late. Happy Valentine's Day. Lots of love. Your secret admirer." Ursula recognised the handwriting and compared it to a note Elton had written earlier. They certainly looked familiar, she thought. Perhaps there was more to their relationship than she thought.